Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree, and this week I have another fun retro video game topic, and the topic was why was Boogerman so great? If you're not familiar with Boogerman, it was a video game, I believe, produced by Interplay, but I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me on that. But it was released for the Sega Genesis and the Super NES 16-bit home video game consoles. Now, Boogerman came out at a time in the 90s where you had the big superhero boom. Where superhero comics were like the big thing. And you also had the mascot attitude era, the Tood era, as they call it, boom on the Genesis, especially on the Genesis, but somewhat on the Super Nintendo. So you had games like Bubsy, Sonic the Hedgehog, Rocket Knight Adventures, Cool Spot, etc., etc., Earthworm Jim, etc., where the whole point was to subvert expectations with characters that were more edgy, or, quote, cool, or whatever, that had superpowers that were outside the norm. One of the big ones that was created in the 90s that was popular was the Tick. And you had a lot of copycatting Ninja Turtles and Sonic the Hedgehog, where you had anthropomorphic, humanoid-looking animals, like I already mentioned, Sonic the Hedgehog, Bubsy, Earthworm Jim, etc. And so it was nice to have a 2D action, side-scrolling, platforming action game that wasn't a bunny rabbit or fucking, some kind of gecko or something lame like that. He was basically a plumber, if I'm not mistaken, so he was sort of a satire on Mario. He had a plunger for a weapon, and he went down. You would basically flush the toilet. That was his warp pipe. And the tagline was a pick and flick adventure. Obviously, he's picking his nose and flicking his boogers. But he also had burps and farts for superpowers. So I know what you're thinking. This sounds very juvenile by today's standards. Obviously, it does. Well, hell, it even did back then. So, yeah, a lot of dick and fart jokes, as they say. The shit that made Kevin Smith a household name. So, show a little respect, I guess. But anyways, what made Boogerman interesting to me was the fact that it was a superhero that was your unlikely superhero. He wasn't a robot. He wasn't a cyborg. He wasn't, he did wear a cape, but he wasn't like your muscle-bound dude with, like, superpowers and a cape or, a utility belt or whatever. He was just a regular fat dude, overweight, beer belly, whose superpowers were just being obnoxious, He could scare people away with burps and farts and boogers. That was his shtick. As far as gameplay goes, it was a pretty solid side-scrolling 2D action platformer from the time period. Good solid gameplay, good solid animation, good solid, background music. It was just a fun game all the way around. Now, Boogerman never became a multimedia franchise that I'm aware of. No cartoon, no comic books, no sequels, no remakes, no modern remakes, no live-action movie, none of that shit. It was just a time and place one-off, in, like, what year was it? 93, 94, or whatever. It was just like, at that moment in time, Boogerman filled a need that, 12-year-olds of my generation, had. We were like, yes, please. And then faded into obscurity. If you've never played Boogerman, I'm going to give you permission to pirate it. Download the ROM and play it on emulation. Give it a shot. If you're not able to get it via legitimate means, because, who's going to pay $700 to play Boogerman? Because that's about what it's going to take to buy the cartridge and the hardware to play it on. Maybe I'm over exaggerating a little bit, but those old retro consoles are getting hella expensive these days, and it ain't worth the price of admission. I'll tell you that right now. It's a fun game, to pass the time and experience or whatnot, but it's not worth investing in, the technology to be able to play it authentically. I would suggest alternative means, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm just going to tell you, figure it out yourself. Obviously, I can't legally give you permission to do that because I don't own the fucking copyright. What I'm saying is, find a way to play it if you can. Legitimately, if you're able to, but there are other ways, and, nobody fucking is making money off of Boogerman, so, that's all I'm saying. Just check it out if you're able to.